Hey, we're back on the F30. My car's here too.
So for my favorite part of any build is when our vibrant order comes in, because then we actually get to take everything that we built on our race car and we get to finish it off, do our hoses, our lines, all of our fittings, our downpipe, our wastegate dump tubes, our exhaust, all the fun fabrication stuff. The last bit of fabrication that I actually get to do, thanks to Vibrant, it's all here. We can finish up this F30 project and then we'll send it out to paint. So huge shout out to Vibrant. They always have everything I need. They had all the titanium in stock that I needed for the pie cuts, because you know you can't bend titanium, so you gotta do pies. They had all of the straights that I needed, all the HD clamps that we need to finish off the build, not to mention all of our stuff for our fuel management. We need to finish our PTFE lines. So we use those for our fuel lines for high pressure, and also for power steering, you can use a PTFE. For everything else, like your oil catch cans or your return lines, you can use the smaller non-PTFE. You can even use non-PTFE for fuel lines, but we just prefer to use the PTFE ones. Then we get to do our radiator stuff as well, because all of our 20AN fittings came in. So now we have all of our straights, our 90s and our 45s provided by Vibrant, so we can finish all of our cooling stuff as well as our fuel system. Very excited for this. So now Chris has all the stuff he needs to do to finish all of his lines. I have everything I need to do all of the rest of my downpipe, wastegate, dump tubes, and exhaust. We are ready to go. We're gonna do a comparison. So I'm gonna take a 3.5-inch piece of stainless, and I'm gonna take and cut it the same exact length as this, and we're gonna measure it, and we're gonna see how much weight we're actually gonna save going from stainless to titanium with Vibrant. So we are at Drift HQ shipping station, and we're gonna weigh these things and see how much they are. We were really interested to see how much the difference of titanium versus stainless is. So you have a very accurate scale. 7.1 pounds. 2.7 pounds, less than half. That's crazy. That's a lot. Now think of that from the beginning of your turbo all the way out to the end of your car. That's a lot of weight. That's, what is that, 3 pounds? It's 7 total, so it's 2.7. So let's say this is 4 pounds heavier for that 2.5 foot section. It's a lot. You're gonna add 15 pounds of weight to your car just from doing stainless versus titanium, which is crazy. So definitely worth it. Weight is always a thing when it comes to racing. Power to weight ratio. It's a real thing. Shout out to Vibrant. Thank you so much. Make sure you guys check them out at vibrantperformance.com, or also available at drifthq.com. All right, so I'm gonna show you a little cheat code on how to cut your fenders for your BMW to where you don't get smoke going into the cabin of the car. There is a flat spot underneath here where your wheel will actually bottom out on the chassis, which is up near your strut tower. So there's a flat spot. So if you measure up there, it almost stops exactly where the arch on the wheel well stops. So you don't want to cut any farther up than that, because then there's no point. Then you have a huge gap between where the bottom of your wheel arch is inside the chassis.
And your car just fills with smoke.
Yep, yeah, and rain and debris and all sorts of other crap. So if you keep it marked right along that line, you can take, and it's double layered. So you cut the outer layer first, and then you cut the bottom off of the outer layer, and then you can hammer up and cut little notches in the second section to get it to sit flat on there, and then you skim that piece with your cutter, and then it'll be nice and clean throughout it. I have a nice welding wire that I use because it does really nice contours. Have one of your friends with you so they can mark, and you just want to go a little bit farther than here, go about a 1/2 inch, and then you make sure your line matches. And we're going to cut this apart and then rinse and repeat the other side. I cut this section out to reveal the bottom of the wheel well. And as you see, this double layer right here, this is where it goes flat. So you don't want to go any farther than that. So what I did was I made another line. You can kind of see it because it's dirty in there. But that's the line I'm going to cut next, and that'll give me enough room to hammer up. And I should have maybe a 1/4 inch left over, and then I'll just skim it with the saw or the flapper disc, and then I'll tack weld it in. So I'm gonna try and do this without having to make any plates with a plasma cutter, and then show you how to plate it off. If we can get you how to cut the wheel well and put it back up into it and make it all solid without having to use any extra metal, it'd be even better. So that's what we're gonna go for. And you can see how crusty it is in here. So if you don't keep that capped up, it's going to get all inside of there. And most race cars have all of their interior taken out, all of the sound deadening, all the little plastic things that close off the cabin, you remove when you build a race car. So those will all be open and exposed, which will get all of that tire smoke into your car. You don't want that. So I have everything hammered up nice and flat here. So I'm going to take and use my buzzsaw right here and just skim the outside of this. I kind of dug into the back part of the wheel well. So remember I told you can cut and notch it to fold it? So that's what I did. So with it cut like that, it stuck out like that. So it was hanging out in no man's land. So how to address that is you take and you cut notches in it. You can even do more than this. I only needed to do 2. And you're just gonna bend it back into place, and then we'll tack weld it, and then you bend that one back into place, and then you tack weld it. So for the ones that are overlapped already and tight, I'm gonna take and zip this down, then I can sand it and then tack weld it in place, and then it won't have any gap. And then down here, I'll either flex it in because we have a body kit that's going over it, so you'll never even see it, and I can tack it there, and then do a little RTV, and then it'll all be sealed up, and then you won't get any smoke in your car. It's gonna be nice. Work protection. Safety first.
All right, so as you guys know, my car's kind of been getting worked on behind the scenes a little bit. We always have a crazy build schedule with everything going on between competition and, you know, fun builds and helping everybody out. So now we actually got some time to work on our cars. So my car, I want to give a big thank you for one, Vibrant. Hooked me up with all the stainless steel, all of the little bits I needed for the intercooler piping, as well as the intercooler and like everything we needed in between. We have Mishimoto for the oil cooler. We have Chase Bays for all of my power steering accessories, the power steering cooler setup, my catch can setup. Hold that up for him, Omar. Show the goods. Yeah. Garrett, always looking out for us as well. R-Tech with the manifold. Then we got, oh, locked steering wheel is what we got. This side. Come on. Then we got BC Racing hooking us up with the suspension. I got Josiah from FDF helped me out with everything with the angle kit. So now we got everything kind of close to where we need to be. Last little shout I want to give is to Haltech. Haltech came through and they got me set up with the R3, with their PDM, with the coil pack kit, with sensors, with everything you can imagine for this car to get it running 100%. So the last step now, once we get all this stuff buttoned up and I get some wheels on it, then it's going to go down and get tuned. And not looking for a crazy amount of power, but excited for the reliability, and as well as, wait, look at this. Look at that. We got the Haltech display. I got a radio in there. We got our touch panel over there on the right hand side if you want to get a little close up of the mounting bracket.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you got the Drift Tech.
Oh yeah, and Drift Tech. Shout out Drift Tech for that Hydro setup. Fits right inside of the stock window switch location. Didn't have to trim anything, mounted up really nice, came with all the lines and everything, so shout out Drift Tech as well. So I'm super stoked. We're getting finally the last 5%. We always talk about that last 5% can take as much as the other 95% of the car. This is that last little buttoning up stage of building the car that is honestly the most time consuming. It's every last fitting, cutting, getting your wheels sorted out, getting your seats mounted. All that little stuff takes so much time. So we're getting to that last 5% now. So we're really close to getting this car actually on the road. And you guys might actually see me drive it.
Everybody stare at the light.
Look at the pretty colors. And honestly, biggest shout out to all the partners in this build. Crickett, right there, the boy. I'm gonna let him turn some laps.
No thanks. If I break it, then I gotta fix it again. I'm good. But look at them fenders, Joel.
What are you gonna break?
That's all factory. I didn't add anything to that.
As long as you don't eat it off the track like you did with Heidi.
Honestly, I wish I would have known about this 10 years ago.
Works pretty good, right?
Like you don't want to see what's underneath my
The
other
double
fenders.
cut. Well, it's actually like 5 or 6 cuts, but you're double cut. You cut out the outside skin of it, and then you leave all of the leftover and skim it, hammer it all up into place, and then tack it, skim it, tack it.
Bro, it's like perfect.
Yeah.
It had the perfect amount of metal stretch all the way to.
Well, I cut it down too. I had extra. You just didn't see that part.
Alright, so we've been doing a lot of plumbing. Lots and lots of vibrant goodies. So we got our pressure regulator mounted. We did our pressure sensor port hub, our Drift HQ little Johnny here. So now I have all of my lines ran for cooling system pressure, crankcase pressure, oil pressure, pretty much everything you can imagine. Now also Crickett got all of our intercooler piping done. We did weld a spacer onto the turbo so that it would clear the EGTs, and thankfully our pipe was able to rotate up a little bit, and our little HD clamps and everything still lined up perfect. We got our coolant lines done, oil cooler lines. Most of my power steering stuff, we're still waiting on our reservoir to come in, and Crickett's been chipping away at thousands of welds with his exhaust system.
Yeah. So I always want to do one. I haven't seen anybody do it yet, and have like wastegate dumps like go around each other like a double helix, like a DNA. So I was able to do it because Duarte's like, pull out the stops, boys. Whatever you want to do to the car, go for it. Just make it 100%. So we got to do it. He had the double wastegates here. So like Chris said, I had to weld on a expansion plate on there because it allowed for us to drill and port for exhaust pressure.
Yeah, exhaust back pressure.
Exhaust back pressure for Freddie. This is only for tuning purposes. So we're literally capping it afterwards, but he wants to know if the left bank, or I guess there's no left or right bank on an inline, but the left
bank 1, bank 2 would be front 3 cylinders, back 3 cylinders. But regardless, the pressure sensors are there so that you know the difference of pressure in your intake manifold versus your exhaust manifold. If you start to have too much pressure build up in your exhaust manifold, it can cause problems like your head lifting, which is obviously something we want to avoid. Bless you.
Woo! Sorry. Argon be getting me.
Wind up.
Yeah. So I have all the titanium done. I'm doing the downpipe right now. I still have a couple more adds to do onto this, but once our hood gets here, we're gonna add a couple little straight stacks on there so they stick straight out of the hood. So I have the whole top part of the downpipe finish welded in. I love titanium, by the way. I never want to weld stainless again. It's so much nicer. It's lighter. It's like 1 pound per 7 pounds for every, was like 3 feet. It was like 3 feet of pipe was.
Yeah, they saw it earlier this
Okay,
video.
yeah, you saw it in the video. It's crazy how much weight difference there is, and just the welding is a lot nicer. So I'm going to finish the downpipe and then do the exhaust. The exhaust should be really easy. It's only a couple bends, and I'm going to dump normally how they always do, right at the axle. We don't need to go all the way back because you don't want it to hang back there, and you want it as small as possible and as light as possible. So we're getting there.
Yeah,
I like
next
it.
step, we got to get our rear ducting for our rear mount. So our PWR came in, so Crickett has to weld on our little tabs for that, so we can pop the radiator in place, and that can finish my little cardboard duct work back there. Working on building this thing, which is just going to cut into the back window. We do have a really nice rear window from Plastics for Performance. That's one, right? Yeah, Plastics for Performance. So we want this to come up right up to the edge, so we can just put little tabs around it to mount it to the window without creating too much problem. But we did create this little contour in the front because we didn't want it just to be flat. So now I'm in the process of making this, you know, kind of look the way it's supposed to fit
We're
all
in the
of our
process
contours.
of making it difficult for ourselves, which we did on purpose. We wanted it to look cool, and here we are making more stuff look cool because we have to follow the contours of
Yeah,
all of
church
it.
it up a little bit.
Yeah, so we're really excited about that. And our radiator will look really nice. We already had one in there mocked up, but we put it in TJ's 350Z. So we have another PWR that we're putting back in here. So all we're gonna do is weld the tabs.
Where we put the tabs?
They were an 2.5 inch from the base on the bottom. Yeah, I'm all about that base.
You sure?
Pretty sure.
I don't know.
We're gonna find out. What we'll do is we'll take and put our shroud back in there and then put the radiator up to it, because the radiator fit flush up against here and then up against this backing plate. So as long as we fit that there, then we'll figure out where our holes go for these guys and those guys. And these haven't moved yet, so
we're gonna need a lot more rivets too.
Yeah, a whole lot more rivets. Let's go raid Adam's closet again for the rivets. Stole a bunch last time. Shh. Hope he doesn't watch these videos.
All right, so I mean, we have our subframe mounted in. I already have all my brake lines with our dry brake here, quick connects set up for our foot brake as well as our hand brake. We have our Fresh Boy drive shaft from Shaft Pros, aluminum Johnny. Again, saving as much weight as possible. Drive shaft safety loop. Trans cross member is done. We just have to get a little kind of mount or bushing in there. This is just a space to keep everything in the position that we want it. And Crickett's downpipe up to here. The front here, we have our power steering cooler and our oil cooler, which I just finished making the lines for. Intercooler's in place. This is our WiseFab steering rack conversion to the E90 rack. And that's pretty much it. There's still no clutch in here. So
it's a Bluetooth clutch.
Yeah, it's direct drive.
Yeah.
It just goes. You start the line and you just go. That's it.
They call it a hybrid. Here's the rest of my downpipe.
Hey.
I'm gonna do a little expander right there and then slide it in. Actually, I'm gonna do the expander on the other one.
It's the expander on the other side.
Yeah. So it goes over like this, and then we'll put our little clips in, and it'll go like they usually do.
Yep.
Tucky.
I really want to show this part. My favorite.
Oh yeah. These also made by Vibrant. These are the line separators. It's all PTFE fittings. Vibrant fuel filter up here. We're getting there. Now last bit, once we get the radiator mounted, I just have to run these lines up through here and then run them to the back of the car. But we got to mount the radiator for that so I can put my fittings in and get my hose lengths right.
Alright guys, so we read all your comments in the previous video, and we're going to be putting together a bunch of different shorts on our YouTube channel to address all of the questions that you had. But in the meantime, while we're doing that, it might take a week or two to get that done. We do have a lot of the stuff that you guys asked us for a response in previous videos. For instance, the rear mount radiator setup. I think we have like 4 or 5 different videos on different rear mount radiator setups for E46, S14s, 350Z, Corvettes. So we've done pretty much all the drift chassis that I can think of that are on a video if you guys want to check that out. In the meantime, we're going to keep plugging away at the F30. I'm almost done with my downpipe. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 more welds and my downpipe is done. And thanks, shout out to Vibrant, by the way, for this awesome titanium. I never want to weld stainless again, honestly. It weighs nothing. Like, this probably weighs as much as this much of a stainless steel downpipe. Very impressed. So
Vibrant for these cutters too.
Yeah, Chris is doing hose from Vibrant, all the fittings and everything, and we love those choppy chops, except for my belly. Watch yourself when you're chopping on those things. A little word to the wise, the little nubs on the inside will get you in your belly fat. Yeah, hey, you don't talk about my tubs like that. Yeah, so in the meantime, we appreciate all of your comments, and we love you guys giving us information on what you want to learn about. We are happy to show you, and stay tuned for more. We're going to get cracking on this. Donnie's over there working on 2JZ E46, so we didn't have to do that this time. We're doing a 2JZ F30. Yeah, so there we go. We answered another question. Somebody wanted to see what the F30 was. Here we are, just checking the boxes. Like, subscribe, comment. I'm checking my boxes, you check yours. Go share with your friends. Show them the goods.